Here's Daniel.
Hello, hello.
I'll ask Danette to take roll for us, please.
Tommy Jewell,
I'm present.
Diane Layden,
Here,
David Montoya.
Let me pause you there. I know that some communication went out from you to Mr. Martinez, Montoya, pardon me. Anything back from him at all?
I have not received anything. back.
Nothing. Okay. Well, I think that's the second meeting that's been the case. And I know that in the July meeting, I believe, he said he was in a new position and didn't think he would be able to continue on the board. So let's just make note of that. Please go ahead.
Okay. Joseph Lopez,
Present.
Mr. Stewart,
Present.
Debbie Strong. She said she was gonna be late, sir. She'll be coming.
Yeah, I know that she has a conflict, but said she was going to try to be on if she could.
Debbie Dodge,
Present.
Michael Wismore. He is absent. He's gonna try and remote in, but he's in South Dakota or North Dakota.
Oh, man, I don't think they have.
It was not working for him. So he emailed me.
All right.
And Elena Giacchi. Has anybody heard from Miss Giacchi?
I have not.
She usually comes in a little late, so she
Okay.
might be confused. down
Yeah,
that.
she commute in or travel in?
I don't know.
I don't either, but we know our meeting time, and if she comes in late, that's fine.
Well, someone down there will direct her, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
They directed me.
Okay, they directed me to.
Well, I'll note that completes the roll call. We do have a quorum. We have 5 of the 9 members present, and so the chair will declare a quorum. I thought that I might be a little late, and I knew that Ms. Strong might be unavailable, so I had asked actually Mr. Stewart to chair this meeting, and he graciously agreed to do that. And I hesitate to steal his thunder.
No, sir. Proceed apace.
thunder is in town.
So let me just say, before we get to the consent agenda, I had some question about the agenda. Let me just go through the items that are on it and ask for approval of the agenda. Of course, the next item would be the consent agenda, approval of the minutes from August 11, public comment, sheriff's office comment, new business, item A, and new business discussion with regards to the process by which comments, I assume, are received from the public and or others are managed administratively. And I think that's an item you asked for, isn't it, Mr. Stewart?
Yes, sir.
But you have some
I
interest in
agree, I
that?
have a comment, but I'll wait.
Okay, and then we get to old business. Under old business, we have an A and a B discussion, planning for September 16 listening session. Under that, 3 items: advertisement, notice of the webpage, moderator for listening session, and then B, discussion of Sheriff Allen's use of force. That's it under item 7. Item 8 is update from subcommittees. 9, next board meeting, and then 10, adjournment.
Oh, Friday.
Is there any need to discuss the agenda?
No,
Okay, you all approve of the agenda? So we have approval of the agenda. The minutes from the August 11 meeting have been submitted to you. Is there a motion?
I so move that they be approved.
I second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Any additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of approval of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by the same sign are nay. Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved. Again, we move to item 4 on the agenda, public comment. I know that we received some stuff just prior to this meeting. I certainly have not had the opportunity to adjust, to completely digest this. Most of this commentary went to the sheriff's takedown. The sheriff is not here. I believe the sheriff told us he would not be here when he appeared before us at the July meeting. So with that expectation, do you all want to just save discussion of any commentary or any discussion of the sheriff's takedown at the Dick's store until he is here?
Judge, if I might,
Sure.
I just want to remind board members that I sent all of you reference material last month. Use of force, regulations, all that, and I would encourage you to, if you haven't already, to review those, because that will become relevant when we do finally discuss this item.
And I just want to clarify the stuff that you sent us is not from where you were before, but what this sheriff's department does?
That is correct.
Okay.
However, I did send you one off-duty regulation that comes from my previous sheriff's office, and I just sent that out as an example to you. Many police agencies have usually it's a relatively short policy, page and a half, that articulates when and where you should do off-duty enforcement. And so I sent that out for your consideration.
But then it begs the question is the sheriff ever off duty?
Yeah, that came up at the
Yeah.
last meeting, and certainly that'll probably be a part of the discussion if we ever have it.
Judge, if I might.
Please,
could
go ahead.
Respond to that. Peace officers are typically never off duty. But if you are not in your uniform, you're not in your county vehicle, you're out shopping with your wife, you are off duty. Although you still have the powers to do things in your official status, but you're off duty. So that's true of every deputized employee at the sheriff's office.
Yeah, because deputized employees that I know, even though they're off duty, if they see something that would require help or whatever.
So let's
They
do
do
this,
that,
yes.
Ms. Dodge.
I have a
Mr.
comment.
Mr. Stewart, I know that you do. Let's save comment or the discussion on the substance of this until we actually get into it. Ms. Layton or Dr. Layton, you have a
Okay, well
question
now,
or comment?
if you want me to wait till we get to this item, but I want to comment on the information sent by Marilyn Beck, who identified herself, and you maybe haven't seen it yet.
I
But
don't
if
think
I may
have.
bring this to your attention when you read it, this came last month from Jim Stewart.
Okay, so maybe I did see it if it was last
Okay.
month.
Well, now, as we read public comments, we need to take them with a grain of salt, if not a salt shaker. Now, she refers to the behavior of the individual that the sheriff tackled as committing a misdemeanor when he was charged with a felony, which may make a difference. Now, this is a complex situation. I recognize that. Second, she attacked him for allegedly using social media to advance himself. I object to those personal statements. Also, she referred to his
So
having a
Dr.
car.
Layton, if you want your objection registered with that discussion, might I ask that you save it until we actually have the substantive discussion? Because if we get into it now, I
I
don't
am
think-
happy to wait.
I don't think we have all the information. And I know that Mr. Stewart has
Well,
just asked us.
I'm speaking from what she wrote.
Okay,
And I just wish to caution people when we get public comments, and I'll wait till we get to that
Okay.
item under new business.
okay. And I think that's appropriate. And I entreated the board at our last meeting, please, if you can, refrain from making public comment on this. Certainly, you're entitled to your opinion, but if we're, kind of sitting in a capacity to be a fact finder, then we don't want to take a position on something until the facts have been submitted to us.
Thank you.
Ms.
Okay,
Dodge.
well, you said you hadn't had time to read these, but one of the public comments was that we weren't reading the public comments out loud for people.
That we weren't reading them out loud for
Yeah.
people.
in the meeting. We weren't,
Well, anything that's submitted to us through the website is available, I think, on the site itself. I think we had some discussion last meeting about how we want to receive public comments and whether we need to read them into the minutes. And my recollection is, it is not the board's pleasure to have somebody read every public comment into the record. So, I mean, this is not TV. I know we're recording, but this is for our edification so that we can review and give advice to the sheriff, the county commission, and the public. And so if somebody, seems to be upset that we're not reading comments in the course of our discussion, I'm afraid they're gonna have to take them from the website for the most part. There may be occasions where we do that, but we won't do that in every instance because it's simply too voluminous to attempt to read every comment to a listening audience. So that's Tommy Jewell, your chair, speaking. You may have a different position on that, and you're welcome to share that. But
And we get to that later when we address it through the agenda.
I believe Dr. Layton is saying that, and I don't know if that was Mr. Stewart's intention in suggesting that agenda item, but certainly it can be discussed. And we discussed it last month, so. I think this preceded public comment. If there are members from the public who are waiting to address the SOARB. Danette, is there anybody, I know we've received these written comments on the web, but is there anybody waiting to address us orally?
I just see KRQE on the queue, and I don't know if they're just listening in.
That was certainly the case last month, but if KRQE has comment, they are welcome to address us now. And they are muted. So I will assume that they do not have comment. Anybody else do that?
Nope. Oh, we have Mr. Martinez.
Oh, Mr. Martinez is the esteemed county attorney, and I doubt that.
We do have someone that just came in by the
Okay.
name of Bob Thomas, so I will admit him.
Very good.
Mr. Thomas, can you hear us?
You have control of his mute, or is he able to?
Can you unmute yourself, sir?
Bob Thomas is likely, he's an assignment manager at KRQ.
Okay. So they're probably just listening in.
Okay. Well, and before I get too far ahead of myself, we took roll of the board. The minute should reflect that Elena Giacchi is present with us now.
Finally found where you are.
Yes.
I went all the way down.
Oh, did you? They were pretty good about greeting us at the door. I'm sorry if they missed you.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
I asked him and it wasn't as clear, so.
Well, I don't want you to think that we did that.
I know you ditched me, Melanie, ditched me. That's
I
okay.
suspect we couldn't if we tried.
You're right.
Uh,
Yeah, we were timing you to see how long it would take you to find us.
All right. And in addition, I didn't mention, we have several staff. Daniel is here, just in case Ken Martinez was monitoring. Daniel is present, and we appreciate him being here, and certainly Esteban and Danette. So we are blessed to have good staff. So we'll proceed. And following, in as much as Mr. Thomas apparently is not here for public commentary. Public comment, we have Sheriff's Office comment. I do not believe we have any of the Sheriff's Office command staff with us today. And the Sheriff notified Danette, and then I think he also called me, said he would not be here. And as I mentioned earlier, I think that was stated to us at our July meetings. So we may then embark on new business, item 6, and take up the item suggested by Mr. Stewart, discussion with regards to the process by which comments are received from the public and others, and how they are managed administratively. Mr. Stewart.
Chair Jewell, thank you very much for this opportunity, and fellow board members. This idea was prompted in my head as a result of receiving the email from Ms. Beck. And I got to thinking about, is it appropriate to come directly to an individual member of the SOAR, or does it need to flow through? Annette is our administrative support person. When I received this, I received it as a result of a contact from my commissioner, Paul Benson, said, hey, got a constituent. So that's how I got involved in it. She sent me her things, and then I forwarded those off to my fellow board members. So the person managing this process was me, Jim Stewart, and I'm not sure that's the way to go. I also took it upon myself, although I was coordinating with our vice chair, that I'd received this. I didn't want to bother the chair with it. And I advised the sheriff that I'd received this. I did not give him the statement itself. I just gave him a short narrative of what it talked about. And then I received a phone call from the sheriff. We talked about it some more. And then we're going to discuss it at the SOAR meeting.
Can I
So,
ask, when he said we're gonna discuss it, was he including himself in that discussion or just?
no, himself. Yeah. So I've gone back through my files that I inherited when I joined y'all, and we have this that y'all promulgated before I came on board. The Board of County Sheriff's Office Advisory Review Board Rules of Procedure. This identifies what we're supposed to do. But this is mostly dealing with what the chair is doing right here, how he manages this process and the rules of procedure and so on and so forth. But it doesn't really address, although it kind of does, the issue I'm presenting for your consideration here. Y'all just bear with me. It uses the term citizen petition. So I would presume that's this email I got, or these other comments I got. Are they petitions, or are they just, what are they? So if there is a citizen's petition, the way it's articulated right now, we acknowledge receipt of the petition and take no further action. That's one of our options. Number two, acknowledge receipt of the petition and take the requested action or a different action addressing the subject. Number two. Number three is decide to investigate the subject and discuss further, in which case a future date may be set for the presentation of additional information or discussion and possible action. So that's what we articulate right now. What I'd like to propose that we consider is maybe a little bit more granularity as to these things coming in and what we do with them. I've acknowledged the two that I got the one that's back, and then from the deputy that's recently retired, I got things sent directly to me. And I acknowledge receipt of it, and I advise that I'd be passing it along to the members of the SOAR. So
And they got your email out.
Is it listed on the site?
Is it? I don't think
Just
our
mine.
personal email.
Just yours?
I have a comment.
Were you finished?
Well, I don't know if you want me to answer that question.
Yeah, I want you to have, I got it
Okay.
written out.
What do you think we should do?
Well, how did they get
What's
this email? That's
what's
what
the
I want to
question
know.
that you're pondering?
Well,
That
Benson,
one right
his
there.
county
The
commissioner.
commissioner gave it, okay.
So
Okay.
clarification, on every published agenda, the information is to go on the website for comments and or contact the liaison for the board, and the email and phone number is on there. So
Okay.
I'm the board liaison, and if you go on any county website, every board has a county liaison that is the point of contact.
And that's you.
Well, for this board, and
Yeah.
then the arts board has
Right.
their own, and vice
Right.
versa. So all of our information is put there for the public for
But
contact,
not individual.
not the
board
boards.
Dr. Lee?
Okay, and we want to be careful here, not to create a bureaucratic procedure if a citizen comes forward with a proposal, and then we say to them, oh, I'm sorry, you'll have to contact Annette Gonzalez. I think what we can do is, in this case, for example, refer that to Danette. Say, thank you for the message, I'm going to refer it to our liaison, and she will distribute it to the board. Okay, what do you think of that? That's the simplest, it's just one more step. but it sort of takes you off the hook. What do you think? Is that a good thought?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I look at the net as our central repository of
Right.
these sorts of
And
things.
let it go through her.
I went running fearlessly into this Dick's shoplifting episode without really including the net in this. You know, I included y'all, but I don't know that I ever copied her. So she's like, what are y'all talking about? You know, we
Right.
want to get away from that.
Of course, I would disagree, but I mean, the reason for that would be, well, a couple of things. I know that without too much looking, you can find my email pretty much anywhere. And then the second piece is that the commissioners have it. Yeah, I think even the city councilors had those kinds of things. So the idea is that with a little looking, they can find our email and be able to contact us. To me, since we have been promoted by the individual county commissioner, or in my case, I was at large, so it was everybody, that leaves us a little bit, I don't want to say owing to, but at least responsible to those county commissioners. So like if the big county commissioner contacted you, Jim, and said, hey, here's something that you could bring to the board, or here's something I'm concerned with, it's kind of hard to say, and well, why don't you just talk to Danette?
Well, see, that makes it bureaucratic.
You know,
Kick it back.
yeah,
I don't
so,
want that. That
yeah.
minimizes.
And so I
interaction.
think if, and we also don't want to say if it's only a county commissioner, because we have, then we are, yeah, well, then we're kind of owing to also the county community that we also represent.
Right.
And so I think putting a lot of things in front of those, those things of walls to jump, we want to make it as easy as for the community to be able to tell us what it is. And then, Jim Stewart reports as a member of this committee because someone is talking to him, this is what's going to happen. Or like you did, here's an email that I have received, and you pass it on. And that way we're not just saying thank you and handing it off, because, as someone who has had issues with different, people in whether it be county commission or law enforcement or things like that, you have had to jump through many hoops sometimes before you even get to the point of talking to someone who might be able to do something about it. So I would hate to think that we put too many barriers in the way of us doing that. Definitely, the net is our central repository for stuff. But as far as people contacting us and us notifying, Judge Jewell, and then we notify Danette that there may be a public comment, or here's the public comment, and we let that person know. But also, I think we have to have ears to listen to the community. I mean, that was what the whole kind of session was for having a community session, is that we have community talk to us about their concerns. So that's kind of where, I think there's ways we can, once we get that information, how we distribute that information, but not to deny anybody a listening ear to what that might be.
No, and I don't want to dilute their relationship. If
Right.
they want to reach out to me as a representative for District
Yeah.
4, all about that.
Yeah.
I should have kept an ad in the loop
Mhm.
when I was keeping you all in the loop.
Right.
The other piece to this is that Jim Stewart started acting all law enforcement, and I started digging through policies and all that. The chair never said, hey, Stewart, go do that. I
Yeah.
just kind of took it on myself.
Right.
It's okay.
Is that appropriate?
I think that's appropriate. I think it's okay.
Sure.
Well, that's what I think. I don't know.
And I think this is a very healthy discussion, and I think the takeaway, if I'm understanding it, I'm trying to synthesize here, is that we do not want to constrain public input. You all have me out there saying, please, public, give us your comments. That has been, our central theme is public, please come to us and give us your comments. And so in any form that we get them, I think we want to, centralize that and distribute it. Obviously, there are situations, and we recognize those where the public may feel reticent to offer opinions and may take you into confidence. I haven't had that situation personally, but it arises. And so we don't want that confidential source eliminated. So if you get the input, it seems to me that's fine. If you get it to the board, if it gets centrally distributed by Danette, that's great, or distributed to the sheriff. If somebody does not want to be, known to the sheriff, I'd ask you to respect that. But otherwise, yeah. And I think as Dr. Layden and Debbie are saying, we don't want to take everything that we get as gospel. I mean, certainly we have to consider the source when we get some of this commentary. And so our mission is advice and review. We're not in a position to make a personnel decision, to make a legal decision. And so, we don't, we don't have those procedural constraints that a court of law would have, that a personnel committee would have. So it's fine if we get information and then sift through it ourselves, sift through it as a group, comment on it, and determine whether we want to advise or review as a result of it. That's my takeaway. Now, is there further need for conversation? Or Mr. Stewart, do you think we need to amend policy or draft something further?
Judge, if you don't mind, I will make some recommendations on how to maybe recraft this a little bit to take that into account.
And I'm not even sure. I guess I'm going to have to go back and ask Mr. Wismer.
Yeah.
Was that a petition?
Yeah, the
Is
comment petition.
Is
I don't
everything
know.
a petition?
Yeah,
I
because
recall
think
when
so.
Exactly,
When
is
he,
it a petition?
when he helped us draft this came from a certain set of documents, so I'm not sure. Yes, Dr.
Okay,
Wood.
while we're redrafting, I would like to express an objection to accepting anonymous public comments, because it opens the door for all kinds of things from all kinds of folks, and we don't know who's speaking. I know that there are problems with that, and that somebody may want to say something and they're afraid of retaliation, but still, I don't think we should accept anonymous public comments.
Yeah,
Please.
Yes.
Mr. Go ahead.
Elena and I have talked about this a bit. When we have a sex crime victim, there's every state union has got a
A
procedure
protection,
for a pseudonym assigned to that person.
okay,
So, do something. I agree with you.
okay, well, that can be an exception,
that-
Well,
Well,
no, they-
unless it's protected by law. Unless it's protected by law, which sex crime victims are.
so let me just put in context, because this is a complete 180 departure from where I was going.
Okay,
And that's that we want to invite comment. And a part of that may be anonymous comment. And so we're grown folks. We can filter through that and say, this sounds like
This looks
somebody.
like a vendetta.
Yeah, somebody's got an agenda or whatever it is, and it can be up to us. If you get, 4, 5, 6 comments and they seem the same, it seems a little strange to you. So,
well, we've got 5 of them.
Yeah.
okay,
Horrible.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Elena, do you have something else?
yeah, because I would agree that we really can't say, well, if you decide not to put your name on it, then it doesn't get to be noticed. And I think we need to take into account that maybe not everybody feels comfortable of making that comment. And not only that, but in this day of age, you can make a comment that people are gonna be hating on. And then the next thing you know, you have people in front of your front door. So we also have to acknowledge that if someone wants to make a comment, they can. And like you said, we're grown-up people, we can decide if this is something, because when the public comments come, we decide, is this something that we want to look at, review, not review? There's nothing to review. They're upset about the action that was happening by the sheriff. And do they want us to look into it again, or what is it, those components? But I think we're grown up enough to say, this is something we do. We have 5 comments that are very similar. Let's take note of what they're bringing up. And then, it doesn't mean that we have to do anything about it, but it is I think their right to be able to comment whether or not they sign their name or not sign their name. So, and if there is, any kind of substance to those public comments, when we read them, we can bring those up. We can address which ones may or may not have any substance that we want to take a look
Okay,
at.
can we go at this another way? If you write a letter to the editor of the journal, before they publish it, they'll call you and verify that you indeed submitted this letter, that this is your letter, that you are who you say you are. Can we find an interim way to proceed whereby the person identifies himself or herself to us when they send the letter, but their name isn't posted?
And I don't know that a letter to the editor of the journal is a perfect analogy,
Okay.
Dr. Layton. We have different purposes. Letter to the editor of the journal is intended for further publication, and certainly the journal does not want to print defamatory material. And so I can see it needing some credibility in its source. Again, I think we've got the internal processes to say, this is a little fishy. And our purpose is to determine whether, from the standpoint of an issue, it's something that we need to pursue further. It's something that we need to redirect and give advice on. It's something that we need to, by our enabling legislation, get more resources and delve into, further. So I think we have a different purpose than the newspaper.
Okay,
And I don't know, is there something particular troubling you? Did something come in?
yes, there's something troubling me.
Okay.
Okay, I worked for Bernalillo County. I know it was 50 years ago. 3 years, I was an executive. I was personnel director and then an assistant county manager. And what we have here today are 4 personal attacks on Sheriff Allen. Now, this board is not the only one affected by these attacks. He's affected too. Now, I also want to say the operant statement at the time I was serving was, and this was for staff, not just for elected officials, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Maybe you've heard that before. Anyway.
I've been put out of the kitchen a time or two.
Yeah,
Okay.
I when I write my memoir, I'll say more. But anyway, what I'm saying is I have a problem with personal attacks that are posted in public without the person identifying himself or herself. This bothers me because the sheriff can't answer. He doesn't know who's speaking. And maybe these attacks.
You'd be surprised, Dr. Layton. I know with some of the commentary we got last week, the sheriff was able to point out to us in some fashion, I know who wrote this. So, I mean,
Okay.
again, Dr. Layton,
Well,
we're grown folk and we can smell an agenda. And so let's just say,
okay.
that's interesting. And then when it's appropriate, we'll give it context.
Okay, thank you.
And one of these 2,
So you're going into the particulars too?
well,
Okay.
I have a question because this person says, no one's reached out to me about my comment.
Yeah, that's Deputy Rael.
Right, but are we,
We're
so
not
they're
supposed to
giving us
do
a
that.
comment, but we're not doing
But
anything.
in fact, I did respond to his email and told him that it had been presented to the board. So I think he wants like someone.
But I don't know that we should be doing that.
We
Who
shouldn't
gave
be
you
doing that. There's a
responsibility
union
that you can
contract.
respond?
I
Yeah.
just acknowledge the receipt, and said I passed it to the board.
I don't
That's
know
it.
that we should do that
The
though, or else
union
we should
contract has an
make it,
appeals
make
procedure.
it, I mean, so he
There
said
have
that to
been-
me
There have
now.
been occasions where I have
Mhm.
responded for the board. An example, Elena said, nah, we're not ready to start meeting at the sheriff's
Sheriff's
department.
Mhm.
And I got 4 or 5 letters from some very prominent folk.
Mhm.
And I felt
I do
it
too.
my obligation to say, I got your email and, we haven't made any particular decisions on that. We're glad that you gave us input. We meet, in fact, if you want to give input to the whole board on this date, please feel free to come and
Right.
join us and share that input. So circumstances like that are gonna come up. Jim feels a representative responsibility,
Mhm.
I think particularly in his district, if I'm understanding.
Well, this is from the guy that got let go.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I
but I'm
mean,
just
I guess
saying,
I thought
I don't think it's
originally,
inappropriate for Jim to respond and say, I got what you sent and I shared it with the rest of the board.
but did it go to you or I thought it went to her, to Nell?
No,
Oh, you just
It went
passed
to
it on
you.
to us.
well, we're working in parallel here, so.
So,
Okay.
I don't know that it didn't come in through the central,
Uh-uh.
okay, all right.
So I don't, I kind of agree with the criticism that we're not acknowledging the comments. But the thing of it is that we are saying, here are the comments and they're on our site, right? So they're there. But I also think that there's something to say, just to publicly acknowledge, they get a number, we received one, we acknowledge that we received it, we acknowledge that we saw it, we acknowledge we received number 3. We, just so that people know that we
certainly,
saw it, because
Certainly.
the comments, if you write a comment and they don't say we received it, we got it, we know it, even though it may be on the site, we don't know that it reached the board. And just saying something simple as, all the comments that are currently on the site right now, we have seen and read, and each one of the advisory committees have seen it and read it. Not that we acknowledge anything beyond that. I also don't think, as the sheriff's advisory group, that trying to maintain our responsibility between good relationship with the sheriff, but also good relationship with the community, so that our ownness is, the sheriff is a big boy. He can take those comments. I'm sure, Jim, you have received a ton of comments when you were doing the work that you were doing. And there's always going to be people that have negative comments, no matter what it is. And this sheriff doesn't strike me as someone that can't take those negative comments. And I'm sure everybody that has maybe already commented is commenting, to him as well. So I don't worry about the sheriff or his department being able to withstand the criticism. I think that's the good part of what we see as the new sheriff is he can take criticism. He took our advice from the report and says, here are the things that I'm willing to do. But I think there is something that says the comments that are listed so that they know that all of us have at least had the opportunity to see them and read them, and we acknowledge it. And then if there is something in any of those comments that we would like to pursue, we could pursue. But I don't think it's our job to protect the sheriff. I think it is our job to make sure there is a balance between sheriff and community as an advisory board to the sheriff, that we take a critical look, because sometimes that doesn't happen in communities. And we have the advantage of having a good leader that says, let's be fair, and does those things. And I think everybody here is really, we might come from some diverse ways of looking at things, but that's the beauty of it, is that, I might not always agree with, Jim, but we can have a really good, lively discussion about whys and why nots and, you know, change our opinions or move them a little bit. But that's what we do here, is we're supposed to take a critical look at making sure that our community, first and foremost, is being served the best to the ability of the sheriff and all of the people that he serves.
Have we beat this up enough?
I just had
Oh, I'm
one
sorry, go ahead.
clarification, Chair Jewel.
Sure.
I just want to know if we're going to be taking each of these public comments as public petitions. I don't know if you thought about that, Jim. Because then we can just go into what the board stance is, whether we're going to take action, no action, or investigate further. That way, each one we can check off, maybe if that's going to be helpful.
Yes.
Or we have to make it even muddier, have a separate sheet that says, if you're going to give a comment or a public petition, you got to go to this form or this one. Because it doesn't seem like we're clear on what we're going to do with these. And then also the timeline, because several of these came in this morning.
Mhm.
And I don't sit at my computer, even though I'm retired. I don't sit there waiting for public comment to come in.
Right.
So I just saw these when I came and sat down. So I had
Right.
5 minutes to kind of review these. So will there be a timeline?
And
You know?
Joseph, we had that same issue at the last meeting.
Yeah, okay.
And so you know, one of the things I want to do is ask Danette to review for us, what our website says about public comment. In fact, I believe it says if, up until an hour before the meeting, you can make, so it does not even assume that we have it unless it's submitted at least an hour before the meeting. And my sense is, I know I had to struggle to get here. I had a meeting up in Santa Fe. And so if you send it to me this morning, I'm sure you want me to be focused on driving and not reading public comment to get here. So, I probably need a day lead on these public comments. But, some of them, I have an idea. I said, oh, okay. I got here and I scrolled through my phone a little bit. And that's fine, but I don't think we're obliged as a board to take up every item of public comment the moment that it comes in.
Yeah.
And so I think last meeting we delayed, we didn't have the sheriff, we didn't have enough time to review. And so I think we depend on each other to review individually and bring a sense of that to the discussion when we discuss it. And so I don't know if it's the board's pleasure, we can certainly check them off. But I'm satisfied that you'll read the stuff. And then if you think it's appropriate to share with all of us in further detail, that's fine. If you think, well, that's probably about all I need of that, I think that's fine. If you all think we need solid policy on how we handle that.
Well, I think we should at least acknowledge that we got it and then have a brief discussion. I mean, if they've taken the time, even if we think, okay, this sounds like campaign or whatever, we can say that. But, I mean, that's,
I don't know that I want to say that. You can certainly say that.
well, or
But
whatever.
I may deliberate privately and say, I may not say on the record, I think
Or maybe
somebody's
we
got
say
an
we don't feel
agenda.
like we need to address this comment.
I think-
I don't know, but
Well,
Yeah,
I like what you said, that it's either we're passing on that for further action, the other one is that we review it, and the other one is that we take action on it. I like the checkoff system even, and it should be a number one if we've read it or have any comments on it, or 2 or 3 or 4. And if we don't, it's like we'll pass on it, we acknowledge it, so people at least know, like you were saying, I've written it,
mhm.
and it shouldn't take too long, because only until just recently have we had more than like 1 or 2 comments, if that many.
Well,
in the
I think it's
past.
issue oriented.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
think, and I'm looking at us, Devin,
Mhm.
that there have been instances where we have had a flood of commentary. And you'll get 3 or 4 sheets. Danette has been very good about supplying this to us. And so I'm assuming that everything that she's sending to me, she's sending to you, because I see it, the email tag sent to everybody. Please do not respond to all.
I don't know, why not? Hey,
Just remember when you're sending emails that there's two Debbies, so make sure that they go to both Debbies.
Have we had that
Yeah.
problem?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Well, okay.
It's just
Acknowledged.
So I do like your idea of doing that, because then we're at least we know we're not gonna take any action on that. Yes, we're gonna review that, and whoever is anonymous, if they want to give us more information, then, please fill out more information or come to our next meeting. But the idea is that anonymous can only be, you can't really review it without more information. So then that's when you do have to put your name on it. If you want it to really be considered for action or review, you have to put your name on it.
Yeah, you can't really respond to.
Nobody.
Well, I mean,
Nobody,
if
yeah.
the issue is broad enough, certainly you can respond.
Yeah,
And we've had circumstances.
But I
like
mean
that.
individually. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if
right.
somebody's asking us to do something individually, then I believe that's beyond our charge. Unless the individual ask is advise the sheriff of this, advise the county commission of that, and let us know what you think about this. That's our charge. I don't think anybody can expect us to act on behalf of an individual, okay? So anyway, I'm not opposed to, if you want to come up with a check system for how we keep track of our public commentary, that's fine with me. I do not want to manage it, but, I'll get with staff and we'll come up with a way that we can say, okay, we had this public comment, we did this or we didn't do that, and so that's taken care of. I think that's what
yeah.
Joseph is talking about as well. Okay.
For
Joanne?
clarification, sir, if it's something that you can't because it's beyond your scope, then would you say that this public
Yeah.
comment came through, it's beyond our scope, so we are not going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't do that. We can't have a trial.
Well,
All right.
Guilty.
I just mean, so that way, if that individual just keeps sending things, they kind of know like it's
Yeah.
beyond your scope, so
Right.
Okay.
you could keep sending,
Yeah.
but
Point
you can't
taken.
do anything.
Yeah.
May I ask one question?
Sure.
Danette, can you respond to this?
Can I respond to them?
Yeah.
Not if they're anonymous, if they,
So if they've listed an email, then you can respond to them.
Mhm.
So if they've not told us who they are or they are, how you can reach them, it's not hard to respond to them.
so usually comments come here if they want to speak, then I email them with all the information of where to come.
Mhm.
So if someone says, we like to speak, because there's the option of comment or speak, then once I see they want to speak or signed up to speak, then I send them the actual invite to me.
But otherwise, we don't say received. And we certainly don't go beyond that and say received and the board decided to do X.
Mhm.
So,
But if we did have an action review or pass, then that could be posted easily. Then everybody knows that we at least looked at the comment, decided to pass.
and of course, anything we're giving advice on is a part of our annual report.
Right.
And so it is indicated that way.
And this could be part of the annual report, is that we developed a system so that
Yeah.
comments would be acknowledged and decided on. And so if anything the advisory board felt was important to do, then we took action on it.
Jim, you want to draft something like that, or Elena, you want to draft something to bring before the
Do you
board?
wanna do it?
Yes, absolutely.
Joseph, you want to draft?
I can work with someone.
I will. I'll work with you. Okay. I'll put out something by Monday. I'll be out of town after
We're
that.
still on my
Yeah.
agenda.
Just like a simple.
Yeah, anything else, Jim, on your agenda item?
Here's the
Sir,
comment.
okay.
or Action.
Well, it sounds like your agenda item is getting written by Joseph and Elena. So if you have further input on that, please.
I
That
can
would
send
be-
it to you, Jim.
That
for
that
think
would
it
be
might
a
be-
subcommittee.
Yeah. Still be separate, but we can
Okay.
come together.
I don't think we did not put this on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
So Jim has something there.
Oh,
So that's all we have under new business, unless I've omitted something. We'll move to old business. Item 7A is discussion planning for September 16, listening session in South Valley Multipurpose.
So what do we do with
Center.
these public comments? We're just not gonna address them then? Or we
No,
address
the
them
whole
in the next
agenda,
item?
that whole agenda item, as I understand, these regard the sheriff's takedown.
Okay, I guess I thought it would come under public comment, but.
Listen, you need to read these. They're asking us to contact the Attorney General. And one of them attacks the district attorney.
We don't have the facts to contact the attorney.
Well, I mean,
General
but
at this point.
That's what I
So,
mean, we need to.
If you all feel,
review these.
if you all feel the urgency to respond to these individually
No, I
now, we'll
don't.
take them up.
No,
But what I was indicating is that we have not eliminated the agenda item that regards the sheriff's use of force at the,
But it's not all that. These aren't all regarding that.
okay. Well, again, I haven't had the opportunity
Okay.
to review them, so they're not eliminated. If you think they are urgent and need to be addressed right now, we'll take them up.
No, I don't think that they're urgent. It's just when
To acknowledge
it's like there's public comment, but then we don't acknowledge
the public.
the public comments. We just say we got public comments and then we move on, but when do we?
okay, do we need a
Acknowledge the
formal
public comment.
acknowledgement? Can Danette acknowledge the receipt of the public comment and that it's been distributed to the board? That's all we should do.
Okay,
If they forward an email and or phone number, yes, I can.
so
Respond to them and
that's
say
response.
they
Is
have
that
been
what you're talking
forwarded.
about? Responding to the person that submits?
Well, I mean, are we gonna discuss any of the public comments?
Do you have ones that are a public comment that you feel need to be brought up? That you said they're not all that, so, and I noticed they weren't.
No, well, some's from the taser incident,
Mhm.
and then some are just general comments about the sheriff. You know, I mean, one's a 3-page thing about that. and-
Broad attacks.
Yeah, it's everything. But I mean, it seems like some even involve Sam Bringman.
Oh, I saw that one too,
Yeah, but we're not talking about them. We're just
I
saying.
think you just did, but is there something more that we need to discuss about it?
Well, I guess everybody hasn't read them.
Yeah, that's what I
the
was talking
problem.
about, the time lapse. Like,
So then we talk about them the next time,
Right,
or?
okay, so maybe next time we can have an agenda item. Does anyone have anything to say about the public comments received for the
Or by that
September
time,
meeting?
hopefully we'll have a forum where we can say pass, action, or review.
Yeah, so this could get real circular because we don't have that policy.
Not yet.
So we're gonna wait on that policy. In the interim, if something strikes you that seems important enough that we need to take up immediately, you can certainly say, we need to address this immediately. Debbie, is there anything like
Well,
that?
no, well, like you said, you did acknowledge the one from,
And when you say acknowledge now, you're talking about response back to the sender.
well, he's like, he wanted to come talk, but no one's gotten in touch with him to come talk to us. This is about the taser thing.
Hmm.
And this is Ray, I'm not sure.
This is
I have-
Rael, Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
But I mean, we're not the judge and jury for the sheriff op. They have their procedures to
they
do
have
this stuff.
proceed, we need
And
to
so
stay
maybe
out
we
of
just say
personnel
that
matters.
we don't acknowledge any of these, that we can't do anything about these.
Well, I don't feel compelled to address that immediately. If you want to make a motion, we can place that before the board now on that particularly. So what is
I
it?
guess my point is that we get these public comments and then that's it. We get these public comments.
Well,
That's
let's
not always,
acknowledge
that's not
them.
always the case. So let's acknowledge that we've gotten public comments.
If
Some
they
of
want
them,
to follow up, they can follow up.
And so can we also maybe change the frame to like 24 or 48 hours from the time that we actually have our meeting, that public comments are shut down?
So I don't control that website. That's for every board. That's controlled
Oh.
administratively from, county manager's office.
So can we?
and so
I
that,
could ask.
and so that's not our policy decision.
Right, Oh, okay,
That's-
so they,
That's county that,
got it.
if you don't,
So we
if
can
you
get
don't get your
comments that
comment
close
in
to
at
it?
least an hour before that particular board meets,
They don't have to.
then they probably will not consider it.
Okay.
There may come stuff before us that gets here 20 minutes before, and it's such big buzz, we say, oh man, we better talk about this.
Mhm.
And so I don't want to tie our hands,
right,
Right,
Okay.
but I do not feel compelled if something comes into me, an hour before as I'm driving here to say, oh my God, we got this, we got to do something right away. This
Right.
person doesn't think that he's loved in the county of Bernalillo, and so, we
Right.
better acknowledge his deal. We'll do it the next time. If it's important enough and people haven't read it, let's make sure we put it on the agenda to discuss the next time. People will then have had time. And,
Okay.
we can do it then. Is
You
that all
think
right?
that meets
I'm
your, what you were saying?
Yeah, I just feel bad that that people do take the time. We ask them to
Sure.
do this and then we don't really
Mhm.
do anything about it, so.
And hopefully the mechanism that we will go forward with will be different so that they do feel acknowledged.
And Debbie, I don't want you or the public to have the impression that that's a matter of course. That's not with every item that comes here. Items have come here and we most definitely have had discussion about them,
right,
have taken action on them,
yes.
and
that's-
have acknowledged them to their sender. So it is not the normal course that we do not look at, that we say, hey, please send us whatever you want to send us, and we don't want to talk about that. So, I mean, that's not the case. The normal circumstance is that we take it up. But if we don't have it in sufficient time to discuss it, we cannot discuss it intelligently, one. And we're probably not going to be in a position to take action on it too. So we will have policy presented to us that captures a lot of this and comes up with a system by which we can check mark what we're doing with items of comment. Yes, sir.
Unless I blacked out during the last meeting, I remember other Debbie up on the screen, kind of having a similar sort of discussion, and the decision was, then that would enter them into the record. So it would be part of the record that those comments have been received by the members of the board.
Mhm.
The only, we get these, many of them are very, very one-sided, the ones that I've seen. And without your having the opportunity to read it, maybe think about it, I don't think that's fair. And Joseph very clearly delineated that. I just got this.
Right,
What am I
so,
gonna say? And that way it gives you the opportunity to come back to the chair or the vice chair and say, hey, I read this one and I really believe that we need to have a discussion on the agenda item for next month. And then we do it. Our work is not only here. I think about this a lot, other than when I'm here. And I know y'all do too. So that you're better able to have an intelligent, productive discussion.
Thank you, Jim. Anything else?
well, maybe we should, just, on the website, I don't know if we can do that or not, to let the people know that any comments received close to the meeting time may not be addressed.
That's already there.
It is, okay.
Somebody got a wild hair this morning. Sent us
It
email.
seemed like they all did, yeah.
All right.
They drive our agenda for us, and we don't want.
Right, that's.
Right.
Well, I think it's a very healthy discussion. I thank you, colleagues, for it. I think we'll move on though, unless there's something else. All right, so, Elena, tell us what's going on with September 16th.
Well, you had got my email and I thank Jim for responding, but, but
You probably thank me for not
Yeah.
responding.
yeah, that was kind of how it was meant. But the thing was, is that there was no kind of publicity going out. Senator Lopez had asked me about, I thought we were gonna do kind of some media blitz or doing something to promote this. And so she was like, I think we need to, and I completely agreed, and I brought it up to her, how do you feel about this? because I talked to someone and said, oh, well, if I had known ahead of time, then I would come, but it's kind of short notice. And so that's why I had written to you saying, I think we need to cancel. I think we need to get to the point of talking to the sheriff to find out a real date that he can make it. And I hadn't heard from the other community members when we talked about the other sheriff's group of who would be coming in lieu of that when they were here. And so I just made the decision since I had heard from, Jim, and Deb Strong said, well, do you think that would require another vote to say we're not gonna do it? And it's like, no, I don't think so.
You didn't vote on the first one. It was a commitment to do one.
Mhm,
And you were looking at that date and then you were gonna discuss it in this meeting,
right.
the logistics of it.
Right. So I went ahead, canceled on my very own.
How dare you?
I know. Well, it was after I got no comments except for Jim. And Jim was like, I agree if this is the way it was presented. So I went, okay. But the idea is that I want to try to do this the best we can. And I want to make sure we have as much publicity as we possibly
Let me say
can.
this. I'm not, and certainly as the chair of that committee, you're free to coordinate with the sheriff.
Mhm. Oh,
We
okay.
cannot commit the sheriff to
Right,
anything.
right.
Right.
So
Well, and when we brought it up, he was enthused by it, wanted to be a part of it, but it happened to coincide with another thing that he had for all of September.
Mhm.
So, he wasn't, at that time, knew how closed up his schedule was, and we had scheduled it for a Saturday. Now, we could still do a Saturday, or we could do, Senator Lopez said that they often will do ones after work, and that they have time to go home and then, come in, do it at 6 or 6:30. We can do something like that as well. But I would like to leave it open until we have a conversation with the sheriff to find out what dates he can actually make it, and then do a real big blitz to ask community, and she can put out to her constituents and the constituents in that area.
I had responded to you that the sheriff was not available in
Right,
September.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
So I did check on
absolutely.
that and, going back to, he had mentioned September was gonna be really busy for them,
Mhm.
state fair, everything else, and he wasn't sure how much he'd be able to commit
Right.
to stuff like that in September.
So now we're gonna do either October or November to get some dates, free dates, and then send them all out to you as quickly as possible to see what the commitment level is for doing something like that. But, Senator Lopez said that she mentioned to a number of constituents that we were doing this, and they were very enthused about it and appreciated just that we were trying to do that as a board. So, we got a lot of positive feedback for that, so.
Okay, so we're postponed.
Postpone
cancel.
no, not cancel, just postpone. And then, I will go ahead with, the support of Danette, because she's been great she knows the scheduler. And I've had that experience where, not even just the sheriff.
So
where
go
you-
down your list of sub items here and just tell us about them if you would. Okay.
Advertisement, notice, moderator.
So we can find a moderator. I mean, that's the thing is that, certainly we could have one of us, not myself, but somebody on our here that feels good with moderation, or I can find someone to be a moderator.
Well,
Yeah,
The
Esteban.
guy with the
Still-
melodious tones right there ought to be the moderator.
He's
well, now,
communicating.
I
and again.
I don't know, he's gonna be working outside of
You
county hours.
can't, you can't
Yeah.
commit staff, so.
Can't commit
so,
staff.
Right.
I appreciate
Good
Stebbin
try.
having,
I don't wanna pay
having
him
the
overtime.
talent, but-
Well, and I would not mind it all going on a Saturday, but my job is to listen and not to speak.
Mhm. So, but we can
You just
find,
spoke, you just.
but there are a number of of judges we could get, there are a number of journalists we could get. We could maybe get even someone.
Well, I wondered about,
KRQE.
Linda, about Senator Lopez.
She might be, I mean, she'd be a great one to
Did
do
you,
it.
in mentioning that as an issue, did you have a different thought? Or were
No,
you posing that question?
I had a number of people who said that they might be able to do it. So
Mhm.
then it's just a matter of putting a name forward, so, you know.
And Elena, the net reminds me that David Montoya was helping you with this and is no longer here.
Yeah.
And so, oh,
And I don't know, is he still on?
well,
I mean, I haven't,
I think I need to
That's the $1,000,000
alert,
question.
alert his appointer that he hasn't been here in a couple of meetings. Danette
and I know
on
he's
behalf-
busy and he wasn't
Yeah,
responding to my
has
emails
that has
either.
reached out to him as well, and we just haven't heard from him.
Yeah,
So at some point, we just have to say, well, we haven't heard from David. We know he's busy
right.
with other stuff.
right.
But, you know, sometimes, like today, we don't know if we're gonna have a quorum, and so we kind of need to know his status.
So I will contact the chief that oversees all the boards, and then she will reach out to the board members.
Okay,
And, because there is protocol, so if they don't resign, then you can go off of absences that they are removed from the board or gently not on the board anymore, and they'll follow the process from
Okay.
upstairs. And
right.
then they'll notify the commissioner, and then they'll send out a notice that there's a vacancy. So,
I think that was kind of his notice, but wasn't really.
so I will,
Official, yeah,
yeah, I will get with her, and then
Okay.
she'll
great.
get that into motion.
I'm sure he's really busy and so I wasn't as mad at him.
So I
So,
will get
so
that into
now,
motion.
Elena, did we cover these other things? Notice to the SOARB, notice on the SOARB webpage. What's the issue there?
The notice of the SOARB for what?
Note, item 2A2, notice on SOARB webpage.
So
These
you
are
have
just
to
things
send
you'd
out-
like to have done, right?
No,
Right,
public
yeah.
notice has to go out that you guys are
Right.
meeting, but there is no action being taken. So it doesn't have to be published.
Oh, okay, so these are
We
things
lost
that
Ken
you've
Martinez.
captured, not you.
Well, both of us,
Both of
but
us.
I need to remember that. I mean, we got to remember that has to go out
Okay,
because you need to let the public know board members will be all in one place, you know, especially if there's a quorum, but there's
Right.
no action being
But
taken.
there's no action.
okay. So that's from the standpoint of public meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
But
So,
you
yes, ma'am.
lost Ken Martinez.
Yeah,
He noted he has another meeting.
yes, he's,
And that he apologizes for leaving early.
let's see, let me check.
We have Daniel.
Yes, I respectfully must go to my next meeting. And it's a little bit longer, but
Respectfully,
I'm not gonna read.
appreciate him attending our meeting.
And he left Daniel here with us.
Yeah. So we appreciate that. Daniel,
We're good.
please let him know we appreciate
Right.
it. I will.
So by next month, I will make sure that you have a moderator in place so that you know, or at least two moderators, and we can decide if we want one or I
My
can
sense is, Elena, go ahead and
do that.
look at that November date.
Okay.
That way, you know, we have a good solid month to say, hey, Mr. Sheriff,
Mhm.
can you put this in, can you fit this into your schedule?
Yes,
When?
okay.
It's October, they have the
Yes.
Fiesta.
Yeah.
That's what I was just
Festival.
thinking. There's a lot.
Yeah.
May I suggest that too, if something comes up for him, that we accept the presence of Major Anderson and the undersheriffs, and that they can be trusted
Yeah.
to relay the information. We can tape, maybe, well, technology. Maybe we can tape record the meeting and get them, that we can't be ever sure that he'll be able to be with us at the moment we have the meeting. And he seems to have a highly qualified staff at the top. That's my impression of them.
Yeah, and even if he said, oh, yeah, I will personally be here
Right.
and send
Something can
somebody,
come
I
up.
mean,
I
we're
mean-
happy. That's him, that's not
Yeah.
us.
We'll leave that at his discretion. We'll
Yeah.
say you or a designee.
Yeah,
State.
whoever he wants to have
Very good.
as his people.
All right, so have we given you enough feedback?
Yes.
Okay. Item B is discussion of Sheriff Allen's use of force. Again, I think we're in the position of postponing that discussion. Obviously, some of the commentary that has come in relates to that. And I don't think it's developed enough at this juncture for us to give it the breadth of discussion that it is. Any objection to,
Do you want to take?
Postponing it?
well, that will be the chair's motion that it postponed. Is there any objection to that?
I would second that.
All in favor?
All in favor?
I,
Okay, we're all in favor then. Thank you all. Now, item 8, of course, is updates from any of the subcommittees. Dr. Layton has a hand up. You have a hand up?
Debbie and I
Oh,
have
Debbie,
an update.
okay.
Okay, we're writing the section for the annual report about the mobile crisis teams. And Debbie, Diane Dosal sent us a report in August. Also, Debbie and I are meeting her for lunch. We are not buying her lunch. She's buying her own lunch.
Oh, my
We're
goodness.
meeting her for lunch on September 26th, so we
Unless
have
it's
no
under
conflict of
$25,
interest
you're
here.
okay.
No, so if it's under 25,
As long as it's what?
McDonald's.
Under 25.
We can do it if it's under $25.
Oh, under 25? Okay.
We're
well,
just
we'll-
going to a little
Yeah.
bit.
Water and distance.
And you're
Yeah.
lucky if you can find that nowadays.
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay, well, we wanted her to, I asked her to write down what she would like us to include in the report about her efforts. So we get the wording right, we don't misquote her. And it's a chance to add to anything she tells us in the report she sent us. She also sent us a message recently, and we'll put all that together. So that's the Mobile Crisis Team Subcommittee report.
Thank you, Dr. Layton,
Debbie.
Debbie Dodge. Appreciate your effort. I didn't earlier say we appreciate Elena Giacchi's effort on
So
the.
now we have to pay for her lunch. So, oh,
We'll
well.
see what we have in the budget. for that, Dr. Layton.
Well, 50.
She may decline though. Most of us do, we're just like, no.
So let me just say in Debbie Strongen's absence, we take seriously our responsibility to report to the county commission annually. Since the last meeting, we have not had much discussion about input into the annual report. She continues to head that up. Please, with respect to the subcommittees, include her if you're thinking that it's that your report or information is appropriate for the final report. Please include that. That would include, Joseph, items that we're going to vote on for purposes of due process. So time is of the essence, and I don't want it to get past us like commentary does every now and then. So make sure that we're attuned to annual report. I think if I'm recalling our process from last year, by November, we wanted to make sure that we had voted on what we're submitting, because by the ordinance, it's due in January. And our schedule doesn't always coincide well with the commission meeting schedule. So just be mindful of that. Any other subcommittee reports?
We just reviewed, Deb and I, she sent me the one copy, we went through it, I gave comments.
Okay.
So like she was saying, the input from the committees are going to be critical for that piece. Are we going to put the public comments in that piece, or are we just going to say we receive?
If they're posted on the website, the commission can go to the website. I don't think we should give these public comments any more notice than that,
Yeah.
unless we're addressing a specific point of interest and relevance to the board.
Yeah, it hasn't
So
been,
something that would be
It hasn't-
action or review then?
it hasn't been our practice with the last two
Okay.
committee,
Let's not,
with the last two annual reports.
because we're going to be used then
Right.
as a forum.
I just reported how many.
When
we
these
received.
comments are anonymous.
We just reported how many we received.
So that's what we did
Oh, yeah,
with
that'd
the
be
last
great.
two
Yeah.
reports.
Yeah.
Anything else? Subcommittees? Okay, we're on then for Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Drive safely.
Great.
Anybody feel trepidation about that?
No, we're strong,
Yes.
Okay.
we're
We'll
fearless.
leave it on as scheduled, unless there's,
We shouldn't be so fearless.
Is this gonna be our new meeting place or it was just,
I like this.
We scheduled downstairs, we just got moved up here because they were having technical difficulties.
oh, really? I can imagine that.
So we're up here, this is a nice place, however, it's one of the smaller ones and we have to remember access. The one to have
Oh,
the
yeah.
easiest access to
That's
is
true,
when,
for the
Yeah.
TV stations
Downstairs.
or public,
Sounds better.
yeah,
and then when we do have the sheriff come and
all
other
that,
people,
yeah.
just
Yeah,
probably
it'd be
wouldn't
pretty
be
small.
big
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
okay, motion to
Great.
adjourn?
I second. Oh,
My motion
Were you
actually, but that's fine.
soliciting?
Yeah, I was soliciting.
I move we adjourn.
And Second
Second.
is credited to Elena Diache. It's non-debatable. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I got